What kind of movies are you watching when you go to the cinema?
Oh, it depends. I mean, I'm very much because I studied film when I was younger. I'm very much interested in all types. So I don't have like a particular favorite genre. I think it depends what's on, whatever piques my interest, and it can be art house movies, but it can also be like major blockbuster movies as well. Sometimes it's nice to just have some escape, I think, from the
Mm,
everyday and let the mind rest a little bit and just like take everything in.
yeah.
So kind of depends on my mood, I guess,
Yeah.
and also what's available, obviously. But uh, yeah, so lately, the last one I saw was actually uh, a 80s manga movie, Akira, which was like a remastered version, which was set up like for a one-time thing.
Oh,
But
interesting.
but yeah, no. So it can be anything really.
Yeah, it seems like you're somebody who really explores their interests. It seems
Yeah,
like you kind of know what you like. Like you're very intentional about what you consume and what you.
yeah. I think I will always at least try to give something a go. Like if there is i- if I'm unfamiliar with something, I do like to try to understand and uh, yeah, explore it. See, just to see if it is something for me or not. And but I do like variety. I don't think I like to be stuck in one place or one genre, so to speak. Not only
Okay.
with like movies, but in things in general. And uh, I think that's also why I if I look at my resume, that it appears maybe that I'm like all over the map. But I think it's
Okay.
because there's a lot of different interests that I have,
Yeah.
and if I had the time and opportunity and brain capacity, I would love to, study so many more subjects and have so much more time to just learn. I think.
What are some of those other subjects besides psychology and photography and cinema and art?
Oh, there's a lot of
Those are
there's
like
a
four
lot of
things right there.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of things in science. I think I would like to explore. If
Okay.
I had if I had been a smarter individual, I would probably love to learn more about neuroscience and astrophysics or physics in general. I think it's fascinating because I don't really understand it that well. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
interesting for me. But I also would love to learn more crafting things. Sewing, I think it's quite interesting.
sewing.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I would love to do something more with my hands as well. Uh, but but yeah, there's always something that I find interesting, and but you can't study everything. You have to
Yeah.
pick.
I don't know. Some would dare to, to oppose that. But if someone were spending a day in Oslo, what would you recommend them to do?
If they were to spend a day in Oslo, I think like I said, I would definitely recommend doing some of the nature scenes because you can get quite a nice view of Oslo. But I think, um, I mean, this is probably not possible for everyone. But if you like know someone from Norway or Oslo to spend time with them and their friends and hang out like locally,
Mhm.
that would be probably the most ideal. But if you want to just take in the city, I would probably advise them to go down to the harbor called Aker Brygge,
Okay.
um, and just sit in and take in uh, the cultural life, and just see the behavior of the Oslo people. It can be quite relaxing, actually. I do like to go down to the harbor area and just sit and observe, uh, especially if it's like a nice day. But there are other tourist sightseeing things like the Viking Museum and uh, go to the castle, things like that.
There's a castle.
But well, it is technically a palace. I will say the royal palace, but it might not be that it might not be that grand as the ones in the UK and things like that. But we do have it, yeah.
Yeah, I
The royal
have
family.
Oslo on here, Google Images,
Right, right.
and the architecture is very fascinating because it's at one point it's very what you think of with Scandinavian architecture, like very minimal and kind of like abstract and like uh simple and functional, like IKEA in a way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and at the same time too, there's like it's like colorful and like tight and I don't know, older, just
I
like
yeah.
yeah.
I think I
Terrible
think
job of describing it, but
no, 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 no. I think Oslo has like this weird mix of traditional and modern,
yes.
because we, like before Norway found oil, basically before we became like a oil industry nation, uh, most of our most of our buildings in Oslo came around late 1800s, when after the industrial area, and then we were kind of
Sure.
like a farm country for quite some time,
Okay.
and so from the 70s and 80s things kind of escalated, and then from 2000s and upwards, new buildings started to pop off like really quickly, and
Yeah.
so there's a lot of new architecture, new modern buildings, and but we're still not going full skyscraper mode. There's still some regulations. They still want to keep some form of aesthetics of the city. Uh, but I do like that it's a little bit of everything, it seems.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing to experience. Like that old charm with kind of new bold vision.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I think you dropped out a little
Oh,
bit.
it's interesting with the you have like the old charm, but then you have the bold kind of innovative pushing boundaries architecture wise.
Yeah, I think the company that did our opera house also did design for the 9/11 memorial in New York, from
Really?
the Twin Towers. It's called Snøhetta, I think the company was called, uh, and so they have done quite a lot of interesting architecture as well here in
Are you
Norway.
into architecture?
I am. Well, not. I'm not super familiar with it. I do like it, but I'm not like hardcore into the architecture lore. But I was actually to become an architect when I was younger. That was like the goal, or at least my dad's
Really?
goal. Yeah, and but I do like architecture. I do like design and structure, and that's why also photography veered into interior and um, uh, and more buildings rather than people.
Yeah. You're more interested in people
Right now, I am, yeah, for
right now.
sure.
Right now.
But I think like with psychology, I am very fascinated about human behavior and um, yeah, and just how how we are and how we interact as humans.
Mhm.
Um, but I do think I like to observe it rather than to be right in the mix. And I think that's also reflective of how I work as a photographer. I do like to observe and just to be a little bit in the background and get like an overview. So I think
Yeah.
that has kind of followed from photography. I was never like a good portrait photographer. Uh,